There we go. And you are looking live at sold out Yankee Stadium. Giants played there from 1956 to 1973. You're looking live at sold out Yankee Stadium, where today the 16-0 New York Giants are taking on the 0-16 Philadelphia Eagles. Why those Philadelphia Eagles 0-16? Because they suck. And welcome to the Gridiron. Anybody at all out there going to spend a little bit of time with me here this evening? Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I greatly appreciate you guys. Absolutely rock. Or if anybody spends any time at all watching any of the replay of this, once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to try to go about 30 minutes here tonight, shoot my mouth off as I usually try to do. Anybody got anything to say, just throw in the chat box. Feel free, fire away. I usually check on the chat box like every 5 or 10 minutes or so. Right. So usually anything that gets put in there, I try to, as soon as I see it, I try to respond to it. Okay. So please feel free and just fire away. All right. Yeah. Before I get started, anybody, there's a link in the description box, top link, description box. Anybody who wants to help support my channel out, it would mean the absolute world to me. You click on the link and it takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. The first one's called the Saquon. The second one's called the Lawrence Taylor. And the third one's called the Gridiron. They all have their own little perks to them and everything. There's loyalty badges. I got some emojis, which I had somebody create on Fiverr. There's 4 of them. Eventually, there'll be a 5th emoji coming out. You can use the emojis, I guess, like in a chat box, if you're, going to leave a comment or something like that. They're pretty cool. All right. So if anybody wants to, help support my channel, once again, it would mean the absolute world to me. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please feel free. It's free of charge. There's a button down there. It says subscribe. Click on that, subscribe to the channel, and also hit that bell icon too. That way, next time either I go live or I put out a video, you'll be notified. And it's absolutely free of charge. And then finally, also in the description box below, okay, there's 3 different links for Facebook. All right. One of them, the top link should be the one for the page. It's called The Gridiron, the New York Giants, The Gridiron. It's a group. I'm sorry, it's the group. The top one is the group. Okay, it's called The Gridiron. Very original. There's over 1,800 members in there. So please click on that link and become a member. Every day, between me and the other members of the group, because in the group, everybody can post. So between me and the other people in the group, there's always at least 5, 6, 7, 8 different things going in there every day, 7 days a week. I always try to, update it every day. To keep stuff fresh, so that, please just become a member and you won't be disappointed. Then there's 2 other links. Okay. One is, they're both to pages too. Okay. The top one, or the middle link, I guess I should say, for the Facebook page is called The Gridiron. And then there's another one also, which I really haven't had a lot of time to work on because I'm so involved with, shall I say, the YouTube channel, the Facebook group, the Facebook page, which is called The Gridiron. Okay. So there's another one. It's called This Day in Giants History. All right. I haven't been that involved in it yet because, as I said, these other things, projects are taking up some of my time, but they'll eventually, without question, okay, I'm going to be starting that back up, and I'll be getting more involved in that. Okay. It just, as I said, I just spend a lot of time, with this other stuff. So please, click on the page too, the New York Giants, The Gridiron, the page. Right now, there's 323 people who like it. There's 865 people following it. The followers, every day I think I had 818 this morning when I woke up. So what's that? I got 45. I've had 47 people so far in I don't know, maybe 13, 14 hours. I mean, become followers. I mean, the followers is really stepping up. I mean, I tell you what, a lot of followers without question. All right. So please, click on that. Click, become a member of the group, and then click on the Gridiron, the page, like that and follow. And as I said, the same thing there. I always put as much stuff in there every day as I can, anywhere between 5 to 10 different posts, 7 days a week. I try to update that as best. So please click on that, like it, follow it, and you won't be disappointed. Okay. So with all that stuff out of the way, right now we got we got the old injury report here, and a new name popped up on the injury report. Gotta love it, huh? By some guy by the name of Saquon. Huh? Anybody heard of him? Familiar to anybody? But the final injury report is out. Saquon is questionable to play. All right. The Eagles ruled out one player, Shaun Bradley. Bradley leads the team in special team snap count percentage. Whoop-de-doo. Suffered a hamstring injury against the Titans and did not practice this week. The Eagles will likely temporarily elevate Christian Ellis from the practice squad for the second game in a row. They may have done that even if Bradley wasn't injured, but now that maneuver makes even more sense. Quez Watkins and Kazir White are notably listed without game statuses after being listed as limited on Wednesday and Thursday. They're apparently good to go for Sunday. So, Avonte Maddox is still on the injury reserve, but the Eagles opened up the 21-day practice window earlier this week. It seems like there's a chance he'll be able to return to the starting lineup this weekend. The Eagles have until 4 o'clock on Saturday to activate Maddox from the IR to the active roster. All right, but the Eagles, I got one guy out. Shaun Bradley, linebacker. Okay. Then we got the Giants. All right. Injury report. Here we go. Let's see here. Zudu, Jackson, and Lemieux, they're out. Okay. Lemieux's out once again with his toe. I mean, I can't even talk about just how unbelievably freaking frustrating this is with him. I mean, he can't even make it through a training camp. It's the second year in a row, basically a training camp. A practice. Just ruined his whole season. Simply amazing. Absolutely amazing. Adoree Jackson. Hopefully he'll be coming back against the Commanders. Okay. Because it sounds like he's getting better and better. And Azuda with his neck. So he's out. All right. Doubtful. Jeez, God. Leonard Williams with his neck. I mean, it's unbelievable. We got 5 guys listed. Three of them get neck problems. Last year was hamstring problems. Now we got neck problems. So Azudu with his neck. Leonard Williams is doubtful with his neck, and Saquon Barkley is questionable with his neck. Simply absolutely freaking amazing. Right? But Saquon, all right, dealing with a sore neck listed as questionable versus the Birdies. When the Giants take on a division rival Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday, they may or may not have the services of their star running back. Giants head coach Brian Daboll told the assembled reporters on Friday that it's possible Saquon's status for the game will be in doubt. He said he hopes the running back can play, but the running back's neck is still sore. Daboll said per the New York Daily News. Barkley popped up on a Giants injury report with a neck issue earlier this week, and it has limited him in practices. Daboll said Barkley will again be limited in Friday's session and is officially listed as questionable for Week 14. So, he's just, I don't know how long it's been going on with the neck. Don't know. Did he suffer it last week against the Commanders? Has it been lingering a little bit? Is that maybe kind of why he's kind of, his production's kind of taking a little nosedive here over the past month or so? But Barkley's in the midst of his most ineffective stretch of this season, having total 81 or fewer yards in 3 consecutive games. Since beginning the season, averaging 5.1 yards per carry and 7.2 yards per reception, and playing at a 2,100 total yard pace through the Giants' first 7 games. Barkley has averaged only 3.3 yards per carry and 4.1 yards per reception while pacing for 1,316 total yards. Big difference. Big difference, okay? If he has to miss the game, the Giants will have to turn to the B&B duo, Breida and Brightwell, all right? With Barkley out, we're going to have to go to Breida and Brightwell, all right? And those two have combined for a grand total of 43 carries for 162 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as 11 receptions for 101 yards this season. The Giants are already shorthanded in the pass-catching corps due to the various injuries, and the loss of Barkley would leave them without their most explosive player for a matchup against an Eagles team that probably won't have any issues putting up points. Nope, because they have nobody injured, right? And I've said this 4 million times now, I think. And the Giants, Slayton is like the Giants, like most, I guess, I don't want to say explosive receiver or whatever, but he was like number 7 on the depth chart when the Giants, right? Now he's like their number 1. So if you take the Eagles' top 6 wide receivers and throw them out, sorry, can't use them, right? And put in their 7th, 8th, and 9th best receivers, okay? You got a little different team there, okay? Because as I said, once again, they have nobody injured, right? Now, if you go to it's mansgamelost.com, all right, I got a subscription to them, Man Games Lost, all right? We go to the Eagles, and one of the things here is the Giants are, where are we at? Total men games lost, right, due to injury. Giants are number 4. However, one of the teams in front of them would be the Saints that played one more game. 2, 3. And quite possibly if the Giants, if the Giants caught up to the Saints in the amount of games played, the Giants would probably be number 3. Tennessee is number 1 with 204. I mean, one of the big reasons why, the Titans got blown out against the Eagles. The Titans have a bunch of guys banged up. Eagles have, once again, nobody injured. The Broncos are number 2 with the Giants and the Broncos are tied. They both have 191 games. So if the Giants played as many games as the Saints did, the Giants and the Broncos would be tied for second. Most games lost due to injury, 191. They have a injury data here, and it says the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings are at least affected by the loss of the injuries. The Philadelphia Eagles and Jacksonville Jaguars are least affected by the lost AV metric, average metric. I don't know. So basically, the Eagles are the least affected by any injuries that they've had, meaning like their backup water boy has been injured. Their 13th string left guard has a sprained toenail or something. They have, they're on the other hand, you have like teams that are affected by injuries would be like San Francisco, who've lost their starting 2 quarterbacks. That's huge. Being affected. Now they're on their 3rd string quarterback because of injuries. All right. If the Eagles lost their starting first 2 quarterbacks, I can guarantee they're not 11-1. Right. Once again, they have a very good team, but if a very good team has everybody injured, you become a rather bad team. And the Eagles are a very good team who's very lucky because basically they have nobody injured, right? But, the Eagles are the least affected by any injuries that they've had, all right? So that's another one of the reasons why they're 11-1. But, so now the Giants have to worry about, possibly not quite having their main man out there, their big weapon. But the thing is I don't know. You don't want to say they're not expected to win, of course, any given Sunday, this, that, and the other thing and all. But the big game would be next week, okay, against the Commanders. That's a big one, okay, without question. Because basically, there's the 3 playoff spots. You got the Cowboys pretty much lock them in. All right. So now we're down to 2 spots. You got Seattle, unless the 49ers falter, because now they're on their 38th string quarterback because all their other quarterbacks got hurt. Okay. But I mean, if the 49ers falter and the Seahawks catch them, okay, maybe the Seahawks overtake them, but they're, we're running out of games. So, but the problem, okay, is now there's 3 teams for 2 spots. The problem is that if the Giants are battling it out with the Seahawks beat the Giants. So the Seahawks have the head-to-head on the Giants. So if they wind up tied, right, the Seahawks are in, Giants are out, right? If they're tied for like maybe the last spot, shall I say, okay? So the Seahawks got the head-to-head. The other team, obviously, is the Commanders. The Commanders are, coming on, okay? So that's why next week is huge. I said, if we got to rest a guy, I mean, I hope we don't get blown out by the Eagles or anything like that. Eagles are a very good team, okay, and all that stuff. I mean, I hope we win. I hope we win by 100. Is it going to happen? Probably not, right? But I mean, can we keep it respectable? Lose 27 or 31 to 24 or something? You know what I mean, right? I said, I hope we win. Right. But with the injuries we have, it's very difficult. Okay. Can we, if we got to, if we have to, sideline, put Saquon, let him rest up. Hopefully he can be back in time for the Commanders. Huge. Right. Same thing with Leonard Williams. Put him on the sideline, let him rest up. Hope and pray we can get him back for the Commanders. That would be huge. I mean, get that front 4 there. You don't know. I mean, you don't know what's wrong with these guys' necks. I mean, Azudu's been out for a while with a neck. Okay, so I'm saying that would be huge. Maybe we can get Adoree Jackson back. I mean, if we can get our number 1 cornerback back, that would be huge. Okay, as I said, it's like another thing with the Eagles, right? Pretty much going into the season, Aaron Robinson and Adoree Jackson are like our top 2 cornerbacks. Well, they're not playing; they're injured. Just if you go to the Eagles have 2 very good cornerbacks. I mean, their cornerbacks are better than our cornerbacks. Okay, I mean, I'll put Adoree Jackson up there, but between Slay and Bradberry, they're better than Aaron Robinson. Okay, but our top 2 cornerbacks are hurt; haven't played in a while. Okay, they're injured. Take the top 2 cornerbacks for the Eagles, Slay and Bradberry. Take them out because just say they're injured, right? And now their defense is a little different, right? They would probably lose a couple of those games. They beat the the Colts by a point, 17-16. The top 2 cornerbacks weren't in there. That might be a little different ball game, right? Right? Or the same thing, wipe out the Eagles' top 6 or 7 wide receivers. Well, maybe they probably lose that game. You know what I mean? So injuries got a lot to do with it. But I said, we got to put some of these guys on the shelf, all right, and put them in against, so we can put them in against the Commanders. That would be huge because after we play we're 7-4-1. We got 5 games left. We got the Eagles and the Commanders. After we play the Commanders, we have 3 games left. All right. If we lose that game to the Commanders have the head-to-head on us because we tied once and then they beat us. If we lose to them, all right, we'll be 7-6-1, and they'll be 8-5-1. So not only will the Commanders have a game up on us in the win column, but they'll have the head-to-head on us, and that's not good because then we have to play the Vikings and we have to play the Eagles again. All right, so if we, that might be if we can rest those guys up because really, I mean, I'm just saying as far as a playoff position, the game next week against the Commanders Sunday night, which is basically almost like the kiss of death with the Giants, like what, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night. I mean, the Giants they don't win. They just to be kind, they don't win. Okay. But that Sunday night game, that is huge. If we lose here and we lose to the Commanders, season might be over. All right. So, I mean, if we can rest those guys up and get them back for the Commander game, that would be huge. Okay. Then also you got Tay Crowder here with, taking it to the streets. Well, no, he didn't take it to the streets. He took it to Twitter. Tay Crowder apologizes to the Giants teammates for the free me tweet. Bench Giants linebacker Tay Crowder said he meant the opposite of everything he wrote. That I don't know what the hell that would mean. Free me? And, I didn't mean that. I meant something different. Yeah, right. Come on. Same thing like with Kadarius Toney. He would, he would do something on social media, calling people jokers and stuff like that. Oh, no, that didn't have nothing to do with you. Yeah, right. So. After not playing a defensive snap Sunday against the Commanders, Crowder published the free me with praying hands emojis on his Twitter account. That message widely was interpreted as a disgruntled former starter asking for his release in the middle of a playoff race. I really wasn't thinking much of it. Well, now you should. I've seen a lot of fans talking about a release of whatever, but I'm all for the team. I just want to do anything I can to help the team win. Yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, hey, Coach Brian Daboll said he would handle it in private conversations. Both Crowder's tweet and a similar one from cornerback Darius Williams expressing confusion over why he did not play 1 week after corralling an interception. Right? It led to Crowder addressing the locker room, but they don't know if Darius Williams said anything to the team. I guess Crowder said, I apologize to all my teammates just because I've never wanted to cause anything to the program. I never want to be that guy to be a distraction. I mean, you got to watch. I mean, you can't, you got to watch what you do with social media. I mean, this is one thing why it was like, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever ago when there was no social media, it was, but I mean, it's like, tweet this, tweet that. I mean, it's, can only get yourself in trouble. Right. Only going to get yourself in trouble. In the immediate aftermath of the lineup change, defensive coordinator Wink Martindale called Crowder a true pro and said his message was how you handle this situation could be a turning point in your career. Reminded of those words Thursday, Martindale mentioned that Crowder's tweet was taken care of internally. Martindale said pretty much, which is true. Life is all about choices, Martindale added. So, Crowder, got, kind of benched or whatever it is, but, it's all about decisions. Everything you're going to come up against adversity. You have decisions you can make. What are you thinking about, right? When adversity comes in, and sometimes guys make the wrong decisions when adversity strikes. So apparently, hopefully Tay Crowder will learn from this. But I mean, the one thing I mean is I'm going to go over some of the other guys' stats, but Rodarius, I mean, it kind of got maybe a little bit of a point here. I mean, last year he only played in 50 snaps. All right, last year. All right. He graded out by Pro Football Focus. He graded out a 43.9. His coverage grade was a 41.6. His tackling was a 27. So but that was with the old regime. So everybody's wiping the slate clean and all that and everything. Well, he's played in 2 games so far this year. He played against Detroit and he played against the Cowboys. He played in 50 snaps against the Cowboys. Okay. Now, he seemed to struggle a little bit against Detroit. His coverage grade was a 52.3, which is not, usually I think Pro Football Focus, like anything under a 60, they kind of, frown upon a little bit. But he played in 50 snaps against Dallas. Okay. And he did he graded out an 83.5. His coverage grade was an 87. He was in there for 22 coverage snaps, pass coverage snaps. And he graded out an 87. Right? Let's see. He had 2 balls thrown his way. And I mean, he even against, he had just 2 balls thrown his way, but there was no completions. Okay. Even against Detroit, one thing of his coverage grade, he had 2 passes thrown his way. Both of them are completed. They're for a grand total of 20 yards. Okay. One was for a 14-yarder and the other one was a 6-yarder. Okay. So, I mean, nothing horrible, but because they completed 2 out of 2, that's what took his grade down. Right. So I can kind of maybe see him a little bit disgruntled, going up against Dallas, having a good game, playing 50 snaps. Right. And then, I mean, because, the Commanders had well over 400 yards against the Giants on defense. So I'm kind of wondering why didn't wind up putting him in, but they got a rhyme and a reason to it. But I'm just a little confused because he did decently well. So, I mean, but once again, I mean, for Darius, if you do anything, you got to watch what you do. I mean, the Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff can be fantastic, but it also can be a real detriment, especially to your career. Especially, I mean, if you're like somebody like a star or something like that, I still don't recommend it. But I mean, but if you're somebody on the bottom of the roster trying to keep a roster spot and this stuff, and you start doing stuff like that, it's not a good way to go. Not a good way to go at all. Now, I want to go over something. I seen this, and this is from bigblueview.com. I mean, it's something that just points out, proves a point. All right. The Giants run defense. I mean, when you get to the second level, the problem, one of the problems is it's not like the way it used to be, like where they used to be, shall we say, the 3-4. The Giants used to, back in the day, like back in the 80s, right? There should be a 3-4, right? You had the 4, right? You'd have Carl Banks, or before Banks came in, you had Brad Van Pelt, number 10, right? So we went from Fran Tarkenton at number 10 to Brad Van Pelt at number 10 to Eli Manning at number 10. So we've had some good number 10s over the year. But I mean, before Carl Banks came there, right? We had Lawrence Taylor on one side. Okay. Brad Van Pelt on the other, outside linebacker. Then after they let him go after 83 season, we had Carl Banks. And you got your 3 down linemen, right? Whatever, one nose tackle might have been Jim Burt. After Jim Burt left and went to the 49ers, we had Eric Howard. Okay. Then you had your, for a little while there, we had maybe George Martin, right? And he had Leonard Marshall, right? But then you had your 2 inside linebackers. Now in the beginning, or I think once again, I think it was the same thing. I think in 83, I believe it was the last year Kelly played. So you had Harry Carson and you had Kelly. So from 81, 82, and 83, you had Taylor, Carson, Kelly, and Van Pelt. They were known as the Crunch Bunch. Okay. But after, they let Kelly and Van Pelt go. You had Carson for a few more years before he retired. But you had Lawrence Taylor and you had Carson. Then you had Carl Banks, and then you had like a host of characters, I guess, is the other one. Some you had Gary Reason. Sometimes you had Pepper Johnson in it. Yeah. There was other guys in there, right? But basically you had 7 guys. Okay. And those 7 guys were there to, control the run game for the most part. Okay. You really never really walked anybody up else into the box, put an 8-man box or anything. I mean, you had the 4 guys, you had the 2 cornerbacks and the 2 safeties. Well, that's gone. Now there's so many 3 wide receivers set, 4 wide receivers set, whatever. A lot of times you might have 3 cornerbacks and 2 safeties. You might have 3 safeties and 2 cornerbacks. I mean, you could have 6, you can have 7 defensive backs in there, right? The way it is now. So, I mean, a lot of the way the Giants are, they got, obviously, thankfully now we have Azeez and Kayvon. Then you have, we got Sexy Dexter. Now we're going to, apparently if Leonard Williams can't go, we're going to have a host of characters trying to take his spot. So you got 4 guys along the front. Then you got you only have 2 linebackers. It was where before it used to be 4 linebackers and 3 defensive linemen. Now, basically, the way it is, with Martindale's defense, you got the 2 line, a lot of times, 2 defensive linemen. You got the 2 outside edge rushers, right? And then you got the 2 linebackers. So you only got 6 guys there. So, it gives you 5 other guys, right? So you might have, might walk a safety up into the box or something like that. But once again, somebody who's small, light, okay, and can help out in the run game. But I mean, when it comes time to it, you got, especially against good offensive lines, when those guys can, maybe hit their initial guy, and maybe the center is supposed to get to the second level, or the guard gets to, pulls and he gets to a linebacker or something like that. You need guys that can disengage from the blocks, and far too many times we're seeing guys, linebackers and whatever, just kind of get swept away. There's holes. Okay. And what you need is the guys in the second level there to be able to shed the blocks and, or see a hole, figure out where the running back's going and shoot the gap and make the tackle. Well, that's not happening. Okay. That's not happening. The Giants need, now whether they got one or not, who knows? Okay. But they really could use, somebody inside linebacker there. So what do they maybe try to get that? I don't know if they're going to try to go out and get a stud, or they're just going to try to get somebody decent. Who knows? Whether they're going to try to get somebody else maybe in the draft, or maybe they'll try to get one a free agent next year. Who knows? But I seen this article, and it's kind of right on. What the point that the Giants have. But they're poor inside linebacker play. Off-ball linebacker is a difficult position to play in the modern. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, without question. Okay. The position used to be dominated by big, tough players whose job was primarily to stop the run, and who sometimes went up against offensive linemen who weren't much bigger than they were. Yeah, man. Yeah, like you go back to the 80s, like with Harry Carson, big dude, a lot of shoulder pads and everything on him, and he was a big, intimidating guy. Well, a lot of what he was supposed to do was, clog the hole up, right? Make the tackle on the run game. They drop in coverage. Okay. In today's past dominating NFL, though, agility is prized as much as toughness, because linebackers are sometimes tasked with rushing the passer and are often asked to cover running backs and tight ends. Finding players who are adept at all three phases of the game is not easy, as the Giants are finding out. Just ask the New York Giants. The Giants have used 4 different off-ball linebackers in regular season games this year. And here are their Pro Football Focus grades. Jaylen Smith is all right. We got Jaylen Smith, Micah McFadden, Austin Calitro, and Tay Crowder. Right. Jaylen Smith, Pro Football Focus grade is graded out at 57. Micah McFadden is graded out at 37.3. Austin Calitro, who's not on a team anymore, is now with the Raiders. Okay. 29.6. And Tay Crowder is at 29.6. All right. Grades below 60 are considered by PFF to indicate replacement level players. So, according to PFF, all 4 of our ball linebackers are replacement level players. All right. So that measure the Giants do not have a single quality linebacker, inside linebacker. Okay. To put those numbers into a league-wide text, now I found this interesting. So far this year, there have been 117 linebackers who have played at least 60 snaps, or roughly 5 snaps a game. Of those 117 linebackers, only 13 have grades below 40. 13, right? 3 of them are on the Giants. Okay? That means the whole rest of the league has only 10 of those linebackers that have grades below 40. The other 31 teams combined have 10 players. We have 3 of them. We have 3 out of 13. Right. Tay Crowder is the 4th lowest ranked linebacker in the NFL. All right. And, and then he was out tweeting me, free me. Okay. And 2 of those 3 who rank lower only play a few snaps per game. The Giants defense has surrendered the 3rd most yards per rushing attempt in the NFL this year, according to Pro Football Reference. Giants 5.1 yards a carry. The Chargers giving up 5.4. The Lions, who apparently we couldn't run on, giving up 5.2 yards. And the Giants are giving up 5.1 yards. Okay. We're the 3rd worst. Of the 10 worst teams in rush defense by this metric, only the Cowboys have a high probability of making the playoffs. So the Cowboys, they're in the playoffs. That's different from 2021, when 6 of the 10 worst rushing defenses teams were playoff teams. Perhaps that speaks to the reemergence of the running game this season as an important part of NFL offenses. Absolutely. Linebackers aren't the only players responsible for the run defense. The defensive line plays a large role as well, but the Giants have 2 of the NFL's best run-stopping inside defensive linemen. Sexy Dexter is 83.2 run defense, and Leonard Williams is an 80.2 run defensive grade. Both of our inside defensive linemen are graded out over an 80 on the run defense. And their edge defenders have been adequate against the run. The second string inside defensive linebackers, especially Justin Ellis and Henry Mondeau, have been weak against the run, and that is an area to shore up this offseason. I mean, it would be nice. We had Davidson there, but he's out for the season. One of our draft picks. Now, I'm not saying he was unbelievable, but once again, we hit the injury bug there. Okay, so I mean, so the guys that we have behind Leonard Williams and Sexy Dexter are weak, right? Linebackers seem to be ground zero for the Giants' defensive problems, though. Here are some specific numbers to illustrate. Giants linebackers routinely get drawn out of position by pre-snap motion, counter plays, etc., right? And often unable to stack and shed blockers to get to the ball carrier. Crowder has the 6th highest missed tackle percentage, 22.4 missed tackles. So basically, he misses like 1 out of every 5 tackles. 22.4, right? And he's texting free me. Okay. All right. The linebackers are equally futile in pass coverage. About half the NFL's linebackers have a completion rate allowed lower than 80%. The best among those who have been targeted a lot have completion rates against a 58 to 70%. The Giants linebackers have allowed completions at a rate of 78.9 for Crowder, 88.9 for Jalen Smith and Micah McFadden, and Austin Calicho has allowed 100% in only 4 targets. Right. And maybe that's why he's not on the team no more. The NFL passer rating when targeting each linebacker ranges from 97.5 to 146.5. The best NFL linebackers have passer ratings against in the low 60s to the low 70s. On the plus side, Crowder has at least broken up 1 pass this year. None of the Giants' other linebackers have done that even once. 21 linebackers have broken up at least 3 and as many as 5 passes this season. So, yes, the Giants most definitely have a linebacker problem at the moment. So, and they also show, there's another graph here, some of the linebackers, some get better over time. Okay, like they're talking about Queen from the Baltimore Ravens. He's gotten better since his rookie season in 2020. Another guy, Kenneth Murray, has gotten worse from the Chargers. Then there's another guy who's pretty much stayed about the same. So, I mean, so there's no, oh, he'll get better. You can't really say that. I mean, some do, some don't. Right. So now whether Micah McFadden will ever get better, possibly not. Tay Crowder. I mean, I'm going to go over some of his numbers. He's I tell you what, I mean, you got to give the man a lot of credit, Mr. Irrelevant and all that stuff and everything. But, Jalen Smith here, he's graded out of 57, right? I mean, average. I mean, he's done decent, nothing super spectacular. He had a rough game against the Commanders. Okay. But he's had a couple good games, against Chicago, he graded out of 83, against Green Bay, 73. Baltimore, he was only at 27. That's not very good. He said, against Houston, he graded out of 71. Detroit is 68. So he's had some good games. Certainly somebody, I think certainly without question, if we can keep, how old is he? What do we got? He's 28, right? So, if we keep him starting next season, he'll be 29. I mean, if we keep him, right, he's cheap too. Good quality backup. Okay, without question. All right. So, are we going to wind up keeping him? Who knows? Right. But we got him this season. But I mean, he's doing a decent job. Okay. But look at these other guys like Micah McFadden. Like, you can only hope he gets better. He's grading out at 37.3, right? His coverage grade is a 33. His run defense is a 49.3. I mean, yeah, he's had some real bad games against Detroit. He graded out at 25.8, against Green Bay, 26.9. Only 4 snaps though, but against the Bears in 27 snaps, he graded out at 28.7. I mean, he said, hopefully he'll get better as time goes by, but you don't know. I mean, they showed a stat. I mean, some linebackers, with some experience, they work on their craft, they work on their agility, their strength, and all everything. Right? They get better. Some guys maybe don't. Some guys stay the same. Some guys just get worse. So we'll have to keep an eye on Micah McFadden. But with Micah McFadden, he's going to always, for the most part, he'll get the shadow of a doubt because he was a Shane and Dable draft pick. Okay. He was Indiana, right? And he was one of their captains. Okay. So they think highly of him, right? So he's going to get the shadow of a doubt. Okay. And I'm pulling for all these guys. I hope they get better. So we'll have to wait and see, right? Austin Calitro is no longer with the Giants. Okay, he's now on the Raiders, right? And he's with the Raiders, and as far as I know, he hasn't even played with the Raiders, but he's on their roster, right? Maybe on their practice squad. I'm not sure, but he played in 3 games for the Giants. He graded out at 29.6. His coverage grade was a 28.8. Run defense was a 54.6. Okay, but he's been on. And now with the Raiders, he's been in the league. He didn't play in 2020. So he is his 4th season. He played 2018, 19, 20, 21, 2022. 4 seasons. This is the 5th team he's on. Every year he's on a different team. 2018 was with the Seahawks, 2019 with the Jaguars, 2021 with the Bengals, 2022 he's with the Giants. And now, actually, if he played 3 games with the Giants, now he's on the Raiders, right? So once again, a weakness. Okay. Then you go to Mr. Tay Crowder. Right now, last year, he played 1,099 snaps. I mean, he was, he didn't get hurt, nothing. He got hurt, unfortunately, in his first year. He led the team in tackles, 131 or 132 tackles he had last year, led the team in tackles. But I mean, he graded out at a 29.1 last year. All right. His run defense was a 28.4. His tackling last year was decent. This year it's horrible this year. His coverage grade last year was a 34.8. So I mean, he made a lot of tackles, but he was on the field a lot. He was in position a lot of times to make the tackle, and he made a lot of tackles. But this year he's grading out at 29.6. His run defense is a 28.1. His run defense is 28.1. His tackling is at 29.6. I mean, they target him 19 times. He's given up 15 receptions for 78.9 reception completion percentage, right? Do they have that? Yeah. He's missed 13 tackles, 22.4. I mean, tackle, 22.4 missed tackle rate. His pass rush is a 52.1. I don't know how many times they have him rushing the passer, but in coverage is a 45.4. I mean, it's just last year his coverage was a 34.8. I mean, just, he was Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, you give the guy a lot of credit. I'm so happy for him. He's making an impact for the Giants and this, that, and the other thing and all. But, he's had some rough games this year. He's had what? 1, 2, 3, 4. He's had 4 games this year where he graded out under a 30 or under. I mean, he's had some really, really rough games this year, without question. So I mean, it's just and then he free me. I mean, you got to watch what you're doing, But I mean, without question, the Giants. I said I don't know if they're gonna try to. I mean, if they have their guys in the secondary, if they're healthy. I'm certainly not saying without question we're the best secondary in the NFL. No way. All right. Maybe we can upgrade that a little bit next year. I'm saying maybe if we pick up another guy in the 3rd or 4th round or something, maybe a little quality depth. Right. But I mean, if the guys that we have, right, they're decent. Okay. We were 7-2 at one point. Okay. Easy schedule. I get that and all, but We were 7-2 with not much of an offense. Okay, so we can do good with those guys, right? I said, we got Azeez and got Kayvon. Maybe maybe we can add another edge rusher, maybe in the draft or something like that. Add a little quality depth. Hopefully, we got Leo for next year, Leo Lyon. We got Sexy Dexter. Obviously, next year we're going to extend him, give him hopefully a nice contract, right? Keep him here for a long time. So but our weakness, that's the weakness. The 2 inside linebackers, right? We gotta do something there. I said, whether it's get somebody early in the draft. I mean, you can get somebody, I'm sure, decently in the first few rounds or so, first 2-3 rounds, right? Without question. I'm anxious to see what Darian Beavers can do, but unfortunately he got hurt really early. So we really didn't get a chance to see what the heck he could do. But I'm really anxious to see him coming back next year. But the Giants, they have to address this. Really, really have to address this. Because it's the run defense is just, very porous, very, very porous. And we got to play the Commanders again. Then we got to play the Colts, who have a good run game, right? Mr. Taylor, right? Good running back. Then we got to play the Eagles 2 times. Okay, so right. So the Eagles can really expose us big time. And I said, the last game of the season, we got to be in Philly playing the Eagles. So the Eagles can really, really expose us big time. So the Giants, without question, in the offseason, whether it's through the free agency, a trade, a draft, whatever, we really need to, get somebody, at least one person, to upgrade that inside linebacker position, because it's not what it's supposed to be. And I know it's easier said than done. It's tough. It's tough. These positions are very tough. To be able to go in there and find a running back, be able to shed a blocker, make a tackle, or 1 minute you're doing that, next minute you're dropping in coverage or whatever. It's not easy. I'm not saying just get one. Of course it's not easy, but look for the Giants to try to upgrade that position next year. Well, guys, it's been 47 minutes. Been shooting my mouth off. Anybody all spent any time at all watching this, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Or anybody spends any time at all watching a replay this, once again, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It means the world to me. It really does. Thank you. And as always, guys, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo!